So while China was buying U.S. farmland, deep state bureaucrats were busy pushing the Russia collusion hoax. And finally, we may get some answers. According to the DOJ sources, former FBI Director James Comey and former CIA Director John Brennan are now each facing criminal investigations over their roles in the Russia hoax. But John Brennan is claiming he's, quote, clueless as to why he's under investigation. Watch.
The people who actually worked this, both in terms of trying to collect intelligence prior to the election, and then the ones who put together the intelligence community assessment, they really, I think, showed the best of what the intelligence community and what CIA is made of. So, again, I am clueless about what it is exactly that they may be investigating me for.
And as always, Senator John Kennedy had the perfect response. Watch this.
These two are they're just especially bad, and they were so political. They're just political hacks who tried to pretend that they had the American people's best interests at heart, and they don't.
Here with reaction, Fox News contributor Miranda Devine and former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows. Of course, John Brennan might not be so clueless as to why he's under investigation if he actually read some of the stories by you, Miranda. It is remarkable to sit here and look back over the past 8 years, and both of you, you've covered it. Mark, you lived through it. But the biggest political scandal that we have lived through in our lifetimes was the idea that you had the Obama administration launching the U.S. intelligence services against the political enemy of the party that was in power in the White House and used it to try to destroy their political opponent. And they largely, in a lot of ways, got away with a whole lot of it, Miranda.
Yes, that's right. And it wasn't just about doing down a political opponent before an election. It was about sabotaging President Trump's first presidency before he even got his feet under the Resolute desk. And it was successful because this cooked up assessment that included the discredited, as they all knew at the time, Steele dossier, preposterous document, was dressed up as if it was a real intelligence community assessment, driven, now we know, entirely by John Brennan, hand-picked analysts, and excluding the other 13 of the 17 intelligence agencies, and sidelining the National Intelligence Council, which normally oversees these assessments. So it was a bogus document from the start, and John Ratcliffe has now declassified and released this review, which includes emails from John Brennan, in which he's pushing back against the analysts, the career professionals in the organisation, who said, no, do not include the Steele dossier, you'll discredit the whole thing. And he said, my bottom line is I want it included. And, you know, now you see John Brennan complaining about leaks, and that really is rich coming from him.
Indeed. Mark, Miranda's exactly right about that. Of course, so much of this effort was designed to undermine that first term. You saw all of it, first from the House, your perch in the House, and then also as Chief of Staff. How did those deep state efforts undermine Trump's first term?
Well, it was a reoccurring theme over and over again, Charlie, and Miranda's right. It was really rich to hear them complain about leaks coming out of DOJ when the entire DOJ FBI was a leak operation designed to continue this information Russian hoax from the get-go. And listen, here's what we do know is President Trump was treated very differently than candidate Hillary Clinton. We've known that for a long time. You've covered it. Miranda's written about it. Obviously, it's been part of a number of congressional hearings. But here's also the interesting thing today is the testimony given on Capitol Hill doesn't seem to jive with some of the emails that have now been declassified and released. And yet we know from the intelligence assessment that Christopher Steele and this dossier not only had huge holes in it, but it had credibility problems from the get-go. And yet there was a desire to continue that narrative that affected the Trump administration throughout the 4 years of his first term.
Miranda, do you think that Jim Comey and John Brennan will ever actually pay a price for this?
Well, I have more confidence now than I previously did. John Ratcliffe, the CIA, has made this referral. They were compelled to do so because I believe it may be on allegations of perjury, because, as Mark just said, there are very differing statements that came out of, I'm thinking particularly of Brennan, about the Steele dossier, which he said he knew nothing about its inclusion in that assessment. No, of course it wasn't included. It was not just an annex. It was included in the main body of the assessment. It coloured the entire assessment. And John Brennan lied about that continually. He lied about it in testimony to Congress. But he also gave testimony within the last 5 years, which is important because that means it's within the statute of limitations, to both the Durham investigation and also to James Comer's Biden corruption investigation. So I believe the CIA would not have referred this to the FBI if they didn't have evidence that some of that testimony behind closed doors did not jibe with the actual words of John Brennan in those emails.
Right. Mark, real quick, do you think that they'll pay a price?
I'm doubtful. Obviously, we've seen this over and over again with the Durham investigation and a number of things. But I'm just doubtful that we'll have. Hopefully, what we'll see is changing where this never happens again to any sitting president or candidate.
Yes, indeed. Miranda, Devine, Mark Meadows, thank you both for coming on.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.